So in this week's Creative Confidence catch up today, I'm going to be talking to Mark. So Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm an artist, and I've got a studio based in Stoke-on-Trent, the old Spode Works, and I work with paint a lot.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Oh, is that one you're painting at the back, Mark?
No, no, that's just it.
Ah,
But I no, I don't ever keep my own paintings on my wall because I think that's far too self-indulgent. I always
there
have
you go.
other people's work. That's a Jeff Price original.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, he's a famous. Well, he's dead now, but he was a famous. He used to paint racehorses,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a former jockey in Chester.
Yeah,
And
right.
then,
I see.
yeah, but so the racehorse paintings, everyone wants them, and they're worth a fortune, but nobody wanted any of his abstract. So
But you'll have them instead.
yeah, because I really like this one. I think it's
I was
great.
going to say, like some of the references are like very much looking like yours in a way, or you're
Yeah, yeah. Well,
like that.
that's it. I
But
mean, that's I always surround myself with stuff that inspires me. So
yeah. How did you find, like, do you know, like, the beginning of your journey, how did you find it trying to get out there to the people, to share your message with what you were doing? Did you find it difficult?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short answer, yes, yeah. So I went to university,
Mhm.
and then after university, I just went looking for studio space, somewhere to work because the materials that I use, I can't work from home. So
Mhm.
that sort of forces me to have studio space. I need to be in an industrial
Yeah.
area because yeah, the fumes that gives off are pretty bad and stuff.
Oh
So I need a big
gosh.
air, like my studio is a big airy space. Obviously, I
Mhm.
didn't make it to my studio, so you can't see it, but it's big, and that allows me, to ventilate and get all the fumes out and stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, I just moved studio spaces quite a lot until I found Spode, which has been the best so far.
Yeah.
So so there's a good community there, a lot of people that I like, and yeah, and that's it's important to have those people around
Mhm.
um, when you're working as well because they inspire you, and also they stop you getting bored, and there's always someone to have a cup of tea with.
Ah, that's great. Well, in terms of like, cause like obviously I'm there as well. I get
Yeah,
there when I can and whatever. And sometimes we just like totally miss each other, don't we? Like you
yeah.
in one time of the day, I'm in another. But like, I suppose it is that sort of community sort of thing. But in terms of that like community sort of aesthetic, did you ever find that like when you were first starting out on your journey, did you always felt like you fitted in where it felt easy to get along with people, find who you were, etc.?
No.
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 No, no, no.
I had a terrible time, but like going through education, I'm neurodivergent, as they call it now. That's a fashionable term.
Mhm.
But I'm dyslexic. I'm probably right brain dominant. So I have right brain dominant characteristics, and institutions I find to be very rewarding to people who aren't dyslexic and are, very left brain dominant. So everything's got to be straightforward in a little box and gradual progression. Whereas people who are right brain dominant tend to jump around, and I was always coming up against that brick wall. Oh, you mean you can't do basic arithmetic? Well, no, I've got dyslexia. My short-term memory is really bad. I can't hold numbers in my head, so I can't do arithmetic. Well, clearly you can't do algebra then. No, I can do algebra because that's logic based.
Mm.
No, 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 no. We're going to force you to do this memory work that you're bad at, that your brain's not designed to
Mm.
cope with, and like sort of create what do they call it? A glass ceiling, a partition between
Mhm.
you able to achieve things that you can do because you can't do sort of basic minutiae. But I mean, I've got a very big downer on the education system at the minute. That's my
Yeah.
personal bias. I think the creative subjects should all be taken out of education totally
Mm.
because you can't. It's not. It doesn't fit into a graded strategic marking
No,
criteria.
it doesn't, does it? That's the thing, isn't it? Like, how can you put a if there's no grade or whatever, how can it's like an opinion, isn't it, on on
Yeah,
something, and it's
they will
horrible.
find they will find a way to keep
Yeah.
themselves in a job, right?
Mhm.
I mean, at the moment, now this is going to be a very controversial opinion, so just to be forewarned.
All that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So where I live
Mhm.
is near Crewe.
Right, okay.
Okay. So at the moment, there's the Knife Angel. Have you come across the Knife Angel?
Oh, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
So okay. I've seen it. I saw it when it was in Chester. I thought that's really good.
Mhm.
It irritates me that it's sponsored by the state and particularly by the police.
Mm.
What business is it of theirs to sponsor what goes into the creative domain? If you have the state sponsoring education, I've got no problem with the message behind it and everything,
Yeah,
but at the same time, what business has the state got of telling you what culture to represent? That's the whole point of creatives in art and journalists. But I mean, journalists are gone; they went ages ago. But we're supposed to hold the state to account and say, look, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working.
yeah.
But instead, we get a prescribed package of things that the state wants you to care about and kick off about, but the things that they don't want you to kick off about never get mentioned.
They're like overlooked, like,
Yeah, yeah, that's the one overlooked,
yeah,
in
yeah.
my opinion. This is
Mm.
just my opinion.
Yeah,
So I think basically we're going to have to start rebuilding society, and the way to do that, one of the ways to do that, is just a bit more freedom to creative thinkers, because it's creative thinkers that drive innovation.
yeah. And also, when you do say that, like, I suppose sometimes education, I found, I don't know if other people, like, it stifles creativity because like, for example, you get a worksheet,
Mm.
and it'll be like, you do this. But then
Yeah,
if you've got to do something a certain way, then surely that's stifle creativity, because people might have other ways in which they want to approach a
yeah.
certain subject, etc.
Well, I think having had recent experiences with uh, I was in education. I went into education later, so I was a
Hmm.
mature, what they call a mature student.
Hmm.
There was a perfect example of this. A lot of the lecturers, I'm not going to name any names here, but a lot of the lecturers had a particular way of working, and a
Yeah.
particular style, and a particular bias towards uh, contextualized
Hmm.
contemporary art, because obviously that's the only thing you can apply a marking criteria to is the context. It's what has come before, um, what the meaning is of
Hmm.
the art. Is that meaning communicated properly? And it's very analytical.
Yeah.
It's not really of the spirit. It's not really of the creative soul. And then a friend of mine, you know him, Fred Phillips,
Yeah,
who
Fred.
is who was a tremendous commercial artist who worked in America for many years,
Mm.
incredibly high skilled individual,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely.
an amazing teacher. You just could a total asset to any field that he chose to be in. He went, and the year before I got to that university, he went there to try and do some sort of teaching work, part time, and they put him at the bottom of the sphere of the academic pyramid, and it was, to me, it felt a lot like putting a sheepdog in charge of a farmer, because this guy
Mm.
actually knows. You guys have never
Yeah, yeah,
worked.
yeah.
Part of the, I mean, and now I'm going to probably say something controversial again, but I don't care. This is how you get viewers, Amy. This is how you get viewers, right? A lot of those guys are probably lecturing because they're not very good artists. I think if you look at this logically, you've got so if people have gone to do an art course, there's going to be a significant proportion of those people that want to work professionally in the arts.
Hmm.
So here you've got the invaluable advice of a guy that has actually worked in the arts and been very successful and
Yeah.
been based in Chicago and is an amazingly talented person. Oh no, but he gets pushed to the bottom. We're not
Yeah.
going to listen to him. We're going to listen to this guy over here who's come, or lady, whoever. I'm not mentioning anyone particular, but it's an example who has come from straight out of education. Excuse me one second. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. They come straight from education. They've been in a prescribed, organized system, like very sanitized, and then
Hmm.
they're going straight back into education. But then they're going to teach you how to be a real boy, Pinocchio.
Yeah.
They're not real because they haven't done it themselves, and that's
Yeah.
not every lecturer, because a lot of my lecturers had been very
Yeah,
successful, very good,
definitely.
professional. But there were one or two that definitely fell into the former category, and I just thought that just, to me, that sums up creativity in academia.
Yeah.
So my big message to people who are creatively minded, and they've
Hmm.
had problems in education and stuff like that, is great. Don't listen to him. The more problems you had in education, probably the better you are at what you do. And I think
More
what a lot of people,
resilience.
yeah, yeah, belligerent sometimes, but I think if you didn't, if you were a creative person, you're an artist, a painter, whatever, I mean, I'm applying this across the board, and you didn't fit into education, that means you're probably pretty good at it,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not taking anything away from the people that did fit neatly into the
Mhm.
educational world, you know, great. You know, if that works out for you, it works out for you. But I don't want people to be discouraged. I mean, I actually had to deprogram somebody that came to my studio on an art open, you know, when they have the art,
Yeah.
we have art studios twice a year. So, and she came in and she said, "Oh, I love to paint, but there's just no reason to." Oh, what
There's
do you
every
mean?
reason to.
Well, it's all been done, and basically, her head was so full of academia that I had to sort of, I just like, look, if you enjoy painting, just paint. You know, guess what? We're all human. We're all mortals. We all die. You may as well enjoy your life. You know, you're
Yeah.
not living for anybody else.
It's some
Do what you want to do.
sometimes don't you find as well you have to unlearn to learn the things that you really need to, because yeah, like you said, gets like clogged in your brain, all this stuff that you don't need to know.
Ah,
It's
yeah.
like move that aside and bring the stuff in that makes
I
you
know.
happy.
I know a little trick to this. I know a little trick to this. So basically,
Let's hear, let's hear.
sometimes you get jammed up.
Mm.
So and you people, it's like the artist equivalent of writer's block and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And also, when you're learning skills, this helps. If you get to a state where you feel like you're stuck and you can't progress any further, go right back to the beginning. Okay, your biggest enemy as somebody that creates things is your own ego. You have to master that, because your ego wants to be the best without trying, right?
Mhm.
But you need to learn. Okay, if you can take your ego out, put it in a little box and put it on the shelf, you have got so much freedom to do stuff, because you can try things that will fail. And that's great, because you can learn. You learn more from a failure than you do from a
Oh,
success.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, so what I often do, and it can usually I apply this to techniques, but it, like concepts, I'm just crazy anyway, so I can always come up with a concept. So
Oh, there's so
I'm
many
gonna,
concepts you've got
yeah,
in that
yeah.
studio, Mark.
Yeah, yeah. I just when yeah, at the moment, one of my yeah, last night I spent an inordinate amount of time talking fashion shows. So me and a designer friend of mine have decided we're going to do a collaboration fashion show, because I'm
Ooh.
doing, well, like, yeah, because I'm doing this art for the apocalypse thing that I've been looking at for a long time. And it's basically like art meets Mad Max. But I
Mm.
thought the best way to do this is like a fashion show with, you know, but almost like a sort of pseudo fashion show, and we'll go out there and we'll do the shoots, and we'll kick up a load of dust and make it look like it's Burning Man, but it isn't. And I've got so many ideas coming off the back of that.
Mhm.
Um, we were discussing the concept of pseudo middle class housing. So if we could get into some new builds and take some photos, and it's like after the end of civilization, and then you got a new build house in the background, and just basically poking fun at the ridiculousness of society, right?
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. You know, that's not prescribed. It doesn't sit in a little wheel of art that's prescribed things you're allowed to protest about. Oh, spin the wheel, and it's the environment. Spin the wheel, and it's something else that we're all supposed to care about. But actually, what it stops people doing is just focusing on more nuanced issues as the subject, as the grit that creates the pearl in the oyster of the art.
Yeah,
You know,
and
the
rather than the
irritation.
trends, it's about other
Yeah,
things. So, like I suppose this leads us on to the creativity piece, of which I was
hmm,
going to chat to you about, like
okay,
keeping in tune with your inner child. Where like so we spoke just recently, had a quick
yeah.
chat, and I'm sure in the notes I jotted that down. So we must have spoken about it. And yeah, keeping in tune with your inner child, and I suppose you can do that through the sorts of things you're doing, just
Yeah,
experimenting, being
yeah.
curious about the material and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, you can, yeah. I mean, keeping the inner child alive is. I mean, mine never went away. That's because I'm incredibly immature, which is fine.
It's
That's
all
me.
good.
But it's fun, yeah. You know, it's not always fun if you've got to pay bills and things. But
Either way.
yeah. But either way, you know. But a lot of people, you can when you meet somebody, right, and they're really angry, and you can
Mm.
tell that they're an angry person, and you're just like, your inner child does not like you. That is why you're so angry, because your inner
Rebelling to get
child,
out.
yeah, your inner child wants to be playing in that sandpit, but your grown-up facade is saying, no, 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 screw the sandpit. The sandpit has no relevance and no value. But now I wonder why I'm getting angry at the coffee machine. You know, That's the thing. That is, yeah. Keep your inner child healthy, and also, I mean, I think zeitgeist is important as well, as in the collective spirit of the times.
Mm.
So, but I mean, for me personally, most of the stuff I do goes completely against everything else and rush shot. I mean, I'm not going to look at a topical issue and go, "Oh, I'm going to get on board with that." You know,
No.
it's like I'm not going to moan about plastics in the ocean, right? Do you know why I'm not going to moan about plastics in the ocean? Because the only thing that will happen with that is the government will come up with a new tax, which goes
Hmm.
in their pocket and
Yeah,
nothing gets
yeah.
done. That's that. They don't. Governments don't care
Hmm.
about fixing the planet. What they care about is taxing you and stealing your money, right? So they're just looking for excuses all the time. But if you wanted to fix the planet, if you wanted to stop plastics in the ocean, you need to change the systems that where we run a disposable throwaway society.
See,
Yeah,
like, this is exactly like the idea that I suppose in, so you have like your, how can I explain? Like in a shop, right?
yeah,
If they didn't want the plastics to be in landfill, etc., why put them on the shelves in the first place? So we need to
yeah,
form the innovations that will keep those off the shelves in the first place, so people
yeah. Well,
can't buy them, etc.
I think throwaway society. I think change your mind first. I mean, I
Hmm.
think throwaway society is incredibly bad. Like in my work, for example, I use a lot of repurposed materials,
Oh yeah, you do,
recycled,
yeah.
repurposed materials. I
Hmm.
don't like to throw anything away that's interesting,
Hmm.
and I'm a big fan of the ready-made, right? Because to me, that's the creative doors being thrown open, and that goes back to what I was talking about before with the ego. You
Hmm.
see, like if like you get a lot of very technical artists and like, no, everything has to be technical and proper. And it's like sometimes do you not just want to get an egg whisk and spray paint it to see what
It
happens?
sounds so fun. I
Yeah,
would.
exactly. Exactly. It's like, and then again, their own ego is robbing them of the excitement of their
Yeah,
inner child.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you have to play in the sandpit, and then eventually all these things come together. And it's like to me, the most exciting thing is the unseen. It's where the skill
Mhm.
meets the sandpit. You know, a classic example of that would be oh, his name's gone out of my head for a second. Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon.
Mhm.
So he's got technical mastery mixed with like childlike scrawl in places, and that's exactly what it is. That's the technical mastery. That's the adult. That's the person that's taken a technique and mastered it, married with the creativeness of the the creativity of the inner child who's just there doing a stick figure in the background, and it all merges. And I mean, it can be very dark, and it can be, but it's certainly interesting when I just see a technically well painted picture with absolutely zero emotional content. It leaves me completely flat.
Mm. And
You
you
know,
want
and when I
something that leaves you, like, feeling
yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean, and when I was working in Chester recently, you often get people who are looking to, they're just looking to see, oh, well, oh, you're exhibiting. How do I get to exhibit? Because a lot of people out there want to
Yeah.
exhibit their work, and everyone's on the journey. People are at different stages. It's what goes on. But there was there was sometimes you would get people that would come in and that sort of there was this wave of arrogance. It was hilarious. They'd come in
Mm.
and and they always had like a little fan with them, and they'd sort of come in and go, no, it's not. No, it's not really my sort of thing. This. Oh, really? Yeah, great. And I'm just trying to, I'm trying to do my, sales sheet. I'm just, oh God, please leave me alone. Go away. And then they come over, and before you said anything, you say, I'm a painter. Oh, really? Are you? Yeah. And then the fan, the wife or girlfriend or friend or would go, oh, he's very good. He's very good. Right? Okay, okay. And then before you can say, please don't show me your artwork, you've got a mobile phone in your hand, and you know exactly what it's going to look like. Technically adequate, zero soul, right? And that is exactly, as an artist, what you don't want to be. Because one, you're arrogant, nobody likes you. And two, you've lost your creativity, you've lost your creative vibe. And there's the other end of the spectrum where people just have absolutely zero skill and they're just everything's a pain, you know. And then, but to me, it's that marriage
It's
of
a
the two.
marriage of, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I get
you've
you.
got to have the skill, but you've also got to have the inner child. There we go. That's
I
me.
love it. But so
Yeah.
in terms of creativity then, have you got
Okay.
any new projects on the horizon, or anything
Yeah,
planned there?
well, I just did the big exhibition,
Mhm.
and the idea was to launch three exhibitions off the back of that, because I can exhibit the exhibits as a whole. It
Mhm.
fits. So there's Art for the Apocalypse, which I'm still fleshing out. I'm still in the sort of take everything in design phase,
Yeah.
which is just like I notice things, and and then it all somehow amalgamates in my brain, and then it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like Jeremy Clarkson. I did a thing. I made a thing. So that's Art for the Apocalypse, and the idea of Art for the Apocalypse is it's completely absurd,
Yeah.
and it's assuming that humans they're so idiotic that they're going to screw up the world. So we may as well start making art for the next stage of the human crisis, whatever that is. So,
Mm.
but making it incredibly absurd. So there's survival tools, there's weapons, there's going to be pieces of armor, and they're all ornately painted. So,
Mm.
but to me, it's quite important that these things look rough and improvised, but then they're all got this beautiful veneer of, oh, well, okay, that might look like a shoulder pad or a Chinese riot shield, but really it's a piece of art. So,
Ah,
and
like
then
an
I can just,
artifact. I like
yeah,
it.
and I can,
Mm.
hey, yes, that's really good. And
Mm.
I can just go crazy with it. So, for example, the riot shield, I just decided it was an Aegeus.
Mm.
The Aegeus was the shield that Perseus used to kill the Gorgon,
Oh, yeah.
which I know not through the benefit of a classical education. I know it from watching Clash of the Titans when I was a kid.
Watch films instead.
Yeah, yeah, you can learn a lot from Clash of the Titans. It's not accurate, but at least you know what an Aegeus is. Excuse me one second. So, obviously I made the shield and painted it. There's something missing. So then I sprayed the inside so it was mirrored, because
Ah.
obviously it has to be mirrored so you can kill the Gorgon.
Mm. Ah,
See?
that's so cool.
Yeah, so then you can offshoot those creative, quirky little ideas. But at the core of Art for the Apocalypse, it has to be ridiculous, because it's almost like poking fun at how ridiculous we are as a human beings are. The things we care about. You you have a mobile phone in your pocket that you can't really afford, but you can afford that, but you can't afford your rent. It, these things are just there's no logic, there's no sense. And then basically this project celebrates the fact that there's no sense in
Mm.
society or in the world at large. So it's just ridiculous, it's funny, it's decadent. So that's a big exciting project that I'm happy about. That's why I'm focusing a lot of my mental attention on at the moment. There's also the wider questioning of how we integrate with technology and AI and
Mm.
losing our humanity. And I'm very much in the physical realm.
Well, that's what
I'm
it's
not.
like, isn't it, right now?
Mm,
People keep losing who they are, in touch with the world, and
yeah,
you know what that.
yeah,
So I can see how those projects kind of um over cross
overlap and
connect.
into.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you saw the show. I'd done some mannequins, and I found some mannequins in the share box at the studio, and I just built them into sort of like miniature robots. Um, and one of them was like emasculated, so I replaced the penis with a mobile phone holder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Read into that what you will, and then I made the intestines out of the spare pipe of a washing machine,
Mm.
and started to rebuild these damaged things as sort of they're interrelationally. Are they human, or are they robots, or are they a representation?
Yeah.
I don't know. You got to see the show when it's up. So that whole show, I'm hoping that's going to be going to Berlin next year.
Mm.
So I'm just putting the groundwork into that. I don't know where, but I've decided I think it will go well in Berlin, because it fits a post-industrial city very well, and it's quite cool as well. And so there's that. So that is another project, which is marrying the sort of the artificial and the robot. And then
Mm.
of course there's the video work as well, which is supporting, which is essentially inspired by Klaus Schwab, who's the head of the World Economics Forum, making a speech telling a frightened audience that at some point they're all going to have chips in their brains regulating their emotions, essentially controlling people with chips in brains. Like instead
Well,
of a mobile phone in your pocket, you have a chip in your brain. So
there you go. All merges into, I suppose, one big project,
yeah,
doesn't it, in a way?
my what inspires me is poking fun and the foibles of unaccountable power, and how ridiculous it all is. So that fits very neatly into the Ayers Automata project. So, I mean, I'm not being offensive with it. I'm not saying we should all go out and
Mm,
have a
mm.
revolution, because who knows? You know what happens when you get a power vacuum, right? You get rid of one dictator, another one springs up. So we may as well just make fun of it and enjoy it. That's what I say. So that inspires me throughout the creative process. That could be different for everybody. Everyone could have an issue they care about. I'm just far too cynical to care about what I'm told to care about, because I feel like if somebody's telling me to care about it, especially if it's the news or Sky News wants to
Yeah.
fix a plastic problem, it's because they want something. So yeah, we're all a bit responsible. But so you're going to trust the same people. If you trust the same people with the same mindset that created the problem to fix it, you're a special kind of stupid in my book. So I'm just cynical. So I'm just going to care about what I want to care about, and I'm not going to let somebody else tell me what to care about. But maybe that is how they control me. Maybe that's what.
There you
You
go.
know, maybe I'm part of the program. That's what I'm supposed to do. I don't know.
So
I'm having fun. Have fun. Have fun.
that, I suppose, as we come towards the end of this week's episode, so having fun and just being creative and kind of going against everything. That's what it kind of sounds
For
like. Even
me,
yeah,
for me. Well, you don't have to be quite so radical as me. Like you guys, like if there's people out there who just want to create stuff. Again, it's just do what you love, because
do what you
we're
love.
not here for a long time. And the most important thing is it doesn't matter what other people think. That's the most important thing.
That's a really good word of wisdom, because that's something I was
Yeah,
going to ask you. Yeah, as we come towards the end of this week's episode, yeah, what
yeah.
words of wisdom do you have? And that is ace. Yeah, that's a great one.
Well, it is, because a lot of people will hold themselves back, and it comes to that little ego in the box. Oh, what are people going to think of me? Oh, they're that's that and the other, and it's like, who cares? At the end of the
It,
day,
it,
you've only got 10 years. When you're any good at anything, just do that. Just do take your 10 years, and and if you're lucky, you might get 20 years. But I mean, not every work I create is a masterpiece. But I just keep
for a
trying.
start.
Yeah, my best work is yet to be created, I think. So that's what you've got to keep striving for that. Keep striving for it. And just remember, at the end of the day, just have fun, because it's all a bit of a joke, really. I think people take life far too seriously.
Life can be a joke, can't it? That's what I think.
I mean, come on, like, it's like, yeah, I suppose they call it graveyard humor, don't they? But it's like it's so you just work, and you do all this stuff, and then you drop dead. And it's like, oh, I was just about to finish that masterpiece. I was just about. I mean, like this poor guy behind me. Just that one more thing that I could have done. Just do it,
Do it. Yeah.
because there's no time that isn't the present. As an old a friend of mine used to say, tomorrow isn't promised.
That's true.
So you just have fun today, and fit as much quality into your life as you can. I mean, I appreciate people got to go to work, people got to perhaps do
Yeah.
jobs they hate. I sometimes have to do jobs I hate. It happens, right? But fit as much time in your life as you can into doing that. Don't watch TV. That's such a waste of life. I mean, I've just basically been ill for about 2 weeks, and all I've been doing is watching TV, and I feel terrible. So I really need to get into the studio and
I was
start
going to
painting.
say, yeah,
So
studio.
yeah, so I think that's so basically just get out there and do as much as you can, because that's the real you. That's your real time. Any time that you spend doing a job you hate to buy stuff you don't need, that's somebody else's. You're sacrificing your soul for somebody else. So just focus on as much time as you can for yourself.
That's
That's
brilliant.
what.
No, thank you so much for your insights today. It's been really much appreciated.
No problem, Amy. Well, it's been nice talking to you.